Hello, I'm Joey. I played Caleb in Snow White and also was the musical director and composer for the show. So the first question is, did you know what style of music you wanted to make for Snow White before you came together? Well, in the lead up to rehearsals, myself and Alex, the director, had a few meetings and chats leading up to our process in Cambridge back in 2018, and we discussed kind of the different worlds of the music. So Alex was very keen to make it very clearly very different worlds. So particularly, say, kind of the palace world, where the queen, the stepmother, and the queen, she's the queen, and Snow White live, compared with the world of the forest, where we encounter the Earthburgers, who are, you know, these large and live, jovial, fun-loving human beings, very silly people, and it's just trying to kind of how to make those worlds really clear. So we spoke about the palace and the castle, as it were, being this kind of dark and twisted sound, in conjunction with the stepmother and her mad ideas and her opulence and wealth and her obsession with beauty. So we kind of delved into kind of the bluesiness and the jazz world, also mixed with a kind of classical element to bring that kind of regal, highfalutin kind of, you know, palace-like energy into the world. So we tried to mix those two together, but then juxtaposed to that, the opposite of that, the forest. We spoke about folk music a lot and bringing in the sound of kind of political folk song, which would be the kind of feel of the Earthburgers and their kind of passionate belief of saving the world and, you know, veganism and all of that stuff, and you know, spiritual warriors, etc. So I listened to a lot of folk music and, you know, flutes and guitars and beautiful harmonies. So yeah, that was those were the two specific worlds that Alex and I spoke about before rehearsals. And so I was able to then go to the drawing board, as it were, and start creating those two worlds and start thinking them through before rehearsals started. That probably brings me on to the second question, which is, what is the devising process behind the music? Did you already have an idea of how many songs you'd want and what they'd be about before rehearsals, or was this part of the devising process? Well, as I say, myself and Alex spoke a lot about the music before rehearsals, and then also we both collaborated on a few numbers again before the rehearsals began, and also a man called Elliot Davies, who had been on board with previous developments of the show. And we collaborated, and I took some ideas from Elliot and kind of embellished them and brought my own ideas, so that we had about 4 or 5 songs going into rehearsals, kind of a basic idea of about 4 or 5 ideas and themes. But going into any process, particularly devising, you have to be so open-minded about anything that you bring, because the show could go down any path. You know, with devising, you don't know. You have maybe a basic structure, but you actually don't know what it's actually going to turn out like. So you have to be very willing to go with the show down any path it takes. And so an idea that you had at the beginning might actually not work in the end. So you have to kind of come with an open heart and an open mind about just chucking some of the ideas you might have been working on away. But with that in mind, it's so useful having material to come with at the beginning of a process, because it means you can start playing as a cast, you can start talking about the ideas and start playing together, and also then using those initial ideas within the improvisations that you do to create the story. So you can be like, let's use that idea that we made the other day and put it in here. So that's really useful. And I suppose after that, kind of during the process, there are, you know, Alex and I had quite clear, specific moments where we definitely thought there should be musical numbers. But then as you're developing the show, so many more moments make themselves apparent that need music. And also when you're not in a scene, you're then outside of the space, say, in the rehearsal process, but you're then available to play music. So often when I wasn't in a scene as an actor, I'd be underscoring the scene with music, and then there might be other actors as well who were able to play with me. So you'd start creating a kind of a world of underscore as well, which then develops into themes, which you then take away and start kind of embellishing. So sometimes we'd reach a moment where I'd be like, we need a song here, but we don't know what it is, and what are the lyrics? And so maybe I'd come up with some, and somebody else, and then I'd take them off, and that evening I'd work on that particular song, and then the next day I'd bring in an idea so that we'd have a kind of basic structure for that number. So it's a really, really collaborative environment, which is really exciting, and I think it means everyone feels like they really own the music, and they all feel very much a part of it, rather than it being something that is completely outside their kind of creative realm, as it were. So that's a really positive and wonderful part of the devising process. And actually, particularly one moment, Jodie in a break was messing around on the guitar, singing this beautiful refrain about the forest, just messing around, and I was like, oh, that's great, and I recorded it, and then it turned into the Through the Forest music, which is the music we play when Jacob, the gameskeeper, and Snow White are going through the forest, and that became the theme. And so there's loads of moments like that where you just hear someone messing around and you go, oh, that's great, what is that? And you then embellish it. And the same with Jacob's rap, actually, which is in the forest. That came out of Yomi just rapping in the break with Jodie, and we all started to go, that's great, you're brilliant at that, wait, let's make that into a thing. So that's always really exciting. And the third question, what was your favourite piece that you made and why? I think I've got a couple, actually. My first one is a musical number called Once More My Love, and it comes towards the end of the show, the whole show, and it's when the stepmother is being tempted by the mirror to use the apple to kill Snow White, and the lyrics are one more time, once more my love, one more time. And it's the stepmother's already tried twice to kill Snow White, and she's failed both those times, and she's starting to give up, but the mirror's the one who really kind of tempts her in, and it's very kind of dramatic and kind of Shakespearean almost, but I love it, and it's got this very kind of classical feel to it. This chromatic refrains. It's like one more time, once more my love, one more time. So it's got, again, it's kind of classical baroque feel, which gives it this, again, very haunting kind of twisted kind of edge to it. And I love the harmonies, and all the cast sing that number apart from the stepmother, so I always enjoy that piece particularly. And then also the Earthburger song, because I think it's absolutely highlights the Earthburgers' energy and their fun and their silliness, but also their kind of serious kind of backbone of trying to help the world and trying to help each other, and it's all about love. And I like that. I think it's fun, and it's upbeat, and I think everyone has a good time, so that's always good. Thank you.
Live off the land with a leaf in our hand. We occupy the greenbelt and we try to make a stand. And if push comes to shove, we're the ones who stand up. We'll chain myself to a tree and I'll never give up. Oh, the earth is our sister, the earth is our brother, the earth is our auntie, and the earth is our mother.